What is the most important lesson learned from COVID-19? You can have all the free time in the world and still manage to do nothing with it. I feel attacked Mayo. If there was ever a zombie attack, people would definitely lie about being bit. People would deny the zombies are real. Non-essential jobs pay a lot more than essential ones. So fucking true. I work in food retail. I was called essential. Certainly did not feel essential and still don't. But at least they said stuff like thanks and good job. That 50% of jobs can be done from home, while the other 50% deserve more than they're being paid. Bosses, hey essential workers, thanks for working through the pandemic. Workers, oh we are essential, can we have a pay rise? Bosses, nope, get back to work. The supply chain is far leaner and vulnerable to the vagaries of pandemic conditions than most had thought. I work in supply chain. Everyone from my chain of command to truckers to terminal management were all saying the same thing. Last year was the single worst they had ever seen it. Can only hope there are big changes in the pipe. People are dumb as fuck. A decent amount of people I work with surprised me a lot during the pandemic. People I used to have some respect for revealed themselves as complete idiots. It was really sobering. We need to teach statistics and critical thinking better. I knew the average person was pretty dumb, but man did the pandemic shine a giant spotlight on how bad things truly are, and how much of a negative effect that can have on the population as a whole. What's that old saying? We're all just 3 meals away from total chaos? I've been thinking about that adage a lot the past few years. As a chef I can actually confirm some people are only a 10-minute wait away from total chaos. Most schools weren't as ready to switch to digital methods as they bragged about. A lot of families aren't ready for digital learning either. Not everyone has a computer for every child, let alone broadband internet access, or an adult to stay home with the kids. Lockdown really pointed out the difference between the haves and the have-nots. Just because they are voted officials, it's clear they aren't the smartest, nor do they have your best interest in mind. The extent to which politicians will sell out public health for their political advantage is much higher than I thought. Usually life or death situations are good for all politicians. Just be a voice of stability and hope and you're good. We all pull together and get through it. This time, dividing us intentionally to cause chaos? I still can't believe real people did that. I like people not being near me. Yup. People standing 6 feet apart in lines is nice. For instance, apparently, toilet paper is more valuable than anything. I will never forgive the hordes of people who reacted that way. Fuck's sake. Regardless of the nature of the crisis, the rich get richer, and we get fucked. To piggyback off this, in the face of a common enemy, our world will never unite. We will be taken advantage by those in power, and left to die. If your plan relies on everyone working together, it is doomed to fail. Pandemic was just the proverbial group project in school all over again. A couple of intelligent and hard-working people trying to keep everything from falling apart, while the rest sit on their ass, or choose to straight up sabotage everything. Yet somehow everyone gets the exact same grade. How comfortable I seriously am with just myself. Yeah, turns out my preferred amount of social interaction can be summed up as quarantine. During COVID I was laid off 4 months, and spent that whole time keeping up to date on everything going on in the world. I mean everything I possibly could, every single day. I reached the point of obsessive and the massive amount of negative crushed me. There was so much bad going on, so much suffering that eventually, one day I just set it all down, and said I'll check in a month. Best decision I made that year, the only thing that kept my sanity. Just taking time away and not bathing in it every day. This is a very underrated comment. My wife and I had to the same, for our own sanity. It was all we could think and talk about. It was literally freeing when we agreed to not check the news at all. People are disgusting. They really are. The vast number of people who clearly have no clue on how to conduct personal hygiene is perhaps the most surprising thing and frightening thing. A startling number of people who simply don't know how to wash their fucking hands. You should take the time to spend with those you love. And it showed me my list of people who I love should have been a lot shorter than I'll let it be. If in a really dangerous situation that requires unity, we're fucked. USA is definitely fucked. If there is need for solidarity, people make irrational decisions when afraid. Fear is a mind killer. Alcohol doesn't improve my life, it just feels good for a moment. 9 months sober. There are me people and there are we people. This was especially frustrating because everyone seems to think that they're a wee person. But it was astonishing how many people, even at the height of things in April 2020, couldn't put on a simple mask to help their community. Your employer will spend more telling everyone that they value your work than showing it to you. Corporate profits don't trump control, even though for many companies 2021/2022 were banger years. You gotta get your butt back into their ill-equipped office because they say so. Government made rules they didn't follow themselves. The veneer of control is thin. Supply chain is very sensitive. People care more about things being easy than thinking about them critically. People do not have the skills to evaluate, or read, studies, and draw appropriate conclusions from, i.e., a study states it's a preliminary study and people use it to draw conclusions, and then try to argue with the experts in the field that do have those skills. The Dunning-Kruger effect is real. I don't need to leave the house, not really that much at least. We learned like 60% of jobs don't even require an office anymore. Everyone can work from home. That we need to permanently retire the expression avoid it like the plague. Yup. As discovered, not many people actively avoided the plague. People are stupid. Bold of you to assume we've learned anything. When the shit really hits the fan, we're fucked. Yeah, the global response to COVID convinced me that we won't solve the climate change problem, or even come close. That it wouldn't take much for civilized people to turn on each other. A wise man once said something like humanity is perpetually 9 meals away from utter barbarism. People will listen to politicians over their doctors. People will trust a Facebook meme over their doctors. Tomorrow isn't promised. The rules can change at any given moment. Cherish today. People are shittier than I expected. I work in childcare. We learned that children really need socialization. You would think with time off parents would work on things. Kids came back to daycare, not potty trained, still using a pacifier, speech behind, refusing to share. It's better now, but it was really interesting seeing a child pre-COVID who you potty trained come back months later acting pretty helpless. I don't know if it's parents, the lack of social pressure, or just some other thing, but it was an interesting experience. That being tied to the office, working insane hours, super long commutes are not necessary. Any nefarious actor could wipe out the entire world's population with the right virus, if they wanted to, and there's nothing we can or would do to stop it. Humanity lacks the ability to come together and function for the greater. Despite every alien invasion movie relying on that ability, the government will protect themselves, not do what is right. Get ahead of the curve by producing your own toilet paper for the next pandemic. We should all just get bidets problem solved. During a zombie apocalypse, a lot of people will absolutely hide their bites and kill the group in the process. How corrupt and or uneducated our politicians are, and how bad and inefficient our system is. I'm from Germany, and the crisis couldn't have been managed worse. Complete chaos. It was terrible. No, I'm no querdenker, rather the opposite.